Okay, this is my second time recording. I'm really hoping and thinking I can keep this below 10 minutes. I want to talk about why when you see 50% off or 70% off, especially in dice companies, it's probably a scam and you probably shouldn't support that company at all. And they're terrible and they suck. Talk about that. USPS has two major issues that I'm seeing. One I've talked about previously. It's the arriving late thing. The other is a new one. So you might run into it if you're ordering a lot of packages, but it's something we're seeing a lot on our side because we send a lot of packages. Oh, I should move this to where I am more or less looking into the camera. That seems better. Okay, and then number three is Dune. I want to talk very briefly about Dune. It's a great movie. You should go watch it. And also maybe go over a few of our new items that we have in the shop. Okay, so thing number one I mentioned was the 50% off thing. So I see a lot of other dice companies, dice sellers, do these sales that are like 50% off, 70% off, 80% off, buy two, get two free. Like all this kind of all this kind of crap. And here's why I think it's terrible. Like what it tells me when I see that as an experienced retailer, those kind of percentages off, it immediately tells me that their regular prices are terrible because like companies with good prices could not afford to do those kind of percents off. So it basically tells me that like, wow, you should never buy from that company unless it's a crazy sale. And try to avoid buying from that company anyway, because like companies that would screw over a customer in a regular sale probably aren't particularly moral or ethical companies. Um, it's just it. So yeah, it frustrates me to no end to see 70% off sale and then comments below, wow, I can't wait to buy all the things. It's like, guys, like that company is bad. Don't support them. And what's especially funny is that we have some customers who really like us, fans of our brand, who will message me and go, hey, look, these guys have 60% off sale and their prices are still higher than yours. It's like, yes, because their initial price was so terrible. It reminds me of like Macy's and J.C. Penney, places like that where you go in and it's like, oh, everything is marked off 40%. It's like, but their regular price seems really high. It's like, yes, that's what they do. Here's a place you don't see a 60% or 70% off or 50% any of these higher percents off sale ever. Walmart, Target, why is that? And those also are the places I usually think of as having like reasonably good prices in the first place. Target, even, because they can't afford it. A fairly standard average retail margin, and I'm generalizing, PlayStation 5's a company might make only $5 on, and the logic from Sony in that situation is like, well, make money on like selling the games and the accessories and things like that. Okay, I'm generalizing, but a 50% margin on average is like pretty typical in most retail industries. So if you're taking 40% off, you're not operating on a normal retail margin, probably. Like we couldn't, like we've been asked, like, when are you going to do a sale? It's like a sale like that? Never, because it'd be a going out of business sale. All right, that's the 50% off thing that I want to talk about. What am I doing on time? 4 minutes. Oh God, I'm not very good at this. All right, USPS issues. So USPS issue number one that we're seeing a lot of again, and we've seen it pretty much since last Christmas when they started doing cuts and having employee problems, and the Postmaster General was doing nonsense. Is the arriving late tag? If your shipment through USPS is marked um, delayed, arriving late, or en route but arriving late, I forget what their exact connotation is. Oof, boy, does that ever suck, because it means that effectively they had a depot or a hub or distribution point that was overwhelmed. And what did they do? They said, well, we can't get all these packages through, so let's take this percentage and just put them into box trucks and put them into the warehouse and forget about them. Forget about them. They're gone. We'll deal with them when we have time. And then everything new coming through gets processed at regular speed. And what that means is one, those things that are tagged late will see no movement for weeks. Last Christmas, it was like months. It was like it could have been, we could have shipped it only the next state over. You could literally drive it there in like 4 hours, but it could take 2 months to deliver because it got into one of these like, oh, get about it queues. And I think what people don't get about that is what they expect is like a normal place, like, I don't know, you know, you go in to buy a sandwich at a sandwich shop and they're, you know, they're behind or they don't have enough staff. Everyone's sandwich just takes longer to make because they have like less people on the line, and you can see the line and you go, all right, well, it's going to take twice as long to get my sandwich. So people go like, well, if the package is supposed to take 3 days, it'll take 5 days or take a week. That's not what happens the way they're doing it. So all that stuff gets put aside and new packages come through. So a customer sees this. Well, your package is tracking, like this one that says arriving late, has been like, I don't know, for like 3 weeks. Meanwhile, I ordered something 3 days ago from Amazon or from another seller, and it arrived through USPS. So something must be wrong with your package. And maybe it's even your, as the seller's fault. You shipped it wrong, or you, like your label was bad or something. None of that. It's just the way USPS handles these things, and it's very frustrating and annoying because I think most people can appreciate like, okay, I'm going to get my package a day or two later because USPS is backed up. But they don't understand why, well, my other packages arrived and my friend's packages arrived, but this one's a month late. Like that's like unacceptable for most people. So, and people like order early, like assuming delays, but they don't assume like a crazy delay. So it's kind of like most customers aren't inconvenienced, but a few are inconvenienced heavily. And I don't know, that seems kind of unfair to me. The other issue we're seeing a lot of is it's tagged delivered, but it's not. And what ends up happening is it gets delivered like several days later. So I'm not sure if it's like USPS is scanning things early or something, like on the trucks or at the hub, or if there's like some automated thing that screws it up when it expects it to be there. I don't know if it's that or if it's like it gets delivered to somebody's neighbor or to the wrong block a lot, but it's happening a lot and it almost always self-resolves. But people think something is wrong. They'll message us and say, like, it says delivered, but it's not here. It's been like a day. And we have to say, like, well, you gotta wait a couple more days. They usually do show up. And I want to say it's like 90% of the time. 90% of the time, it'll show up within 3 or 4 days. A couple of times, though, it's been expensive packages for us, and it's arrived like the next week. Like, it'll like, they'll say delivered on Wednesday, and it won't show up until like next Tuesday. Ugh, because then we have to literally start assuming it might be lost or there might be some problem and have to consider reshipping. It's really crappy. So if you see it says delivered, you might just want to wait a couple days, honestly. I can't tell you how many times a neighbor has stopped. People have told us like, oh, my neighbor stopped by and dropped it off, or no, it came like 2 days later. Yeah, I don't know. We have some new items in the shop. So let me show you that. What do we got? 8 minutes? Oh, I'm not gonna hit 10. I'm not doing terribly though. All right, so let me just load up my browser. Oh, is that it? Oh, cool. I'm already there. All right, so I might not even have to edit this video. Great. Okay, so here are our, oh wait, I wanna, there we go. Here are some of our new arrivals, which you just go to viridiangaming.com and then click the new arrivals thing. You can see all the new stuff we got in. We have a lot of cool new stuff. I happen to like these swamp fog. I almost call this like Hag's Swamp or something like that. This one's super underrated. It maybe looks just like yellow dice, but they're super shiny. It's impossible to photograph them. New Japanese dice. We have some new Witcher stuff, which anything by this brand, Q Workshop, highly detailed. Their stuff is just amazing. If you don't have any dice from them, definitely click over here. Yeah, and well, this would only show you what's new arrival, but click off new arrival and then click on Q Workshop and check out all their stuff. Their stuff's just great. The mica ones, very pretty. But I think my favorite of the new ones we've gotten in are oh, cracked ones. These cracked ones, like cracked or lightning, um, we were the first to sell them. Now a lot of sellers have them, and they have them for like $40. Please don't spend $40 on these dice. These dice are great, but yeah, 40 is too much for them in my experience. Maybe if they're 50, 80% off, would be a good deal. Actually, 80% off would be a really good deal. I don't think you'll see that. Um, oh, and some of the lab dice are sold out too. These ones are really great. These like glittery Techno Arcana, the Blooming Grove. I happen to really like this one, Vesuvius, because I like flaming fiery dice. And this Tail of Tongues. Take a quick look at this. Really cool. Sometimes our photography doesn't do them justice, but that one actually came out really. Oh, and these liquid dice. So like, there's a little bit of a story behind these liquid dice. So if you see, if you look at like the D20, this one in the middle. Oh, I can do that. Yeah, you can see that the core is like off center. These are still pretty dice, and they still have a liquid core, but a couple of the dice are off center. This one looks off center too. This D8. Some of them are better centered. Like that one's pretty good. Um, so these were made kind of incorrectly, or they weren't able to center the core properly. Let me go back to so they weren't able to perfectly center these cores. And we got a sample and we said to our supplier, in this case it was USUN, like, I don't know, like we're gonna have customers complain that these aren't centered properly. And they said, we know. Actually ended up giving us a little bit of a discount on them, so that we could sell them a little bit cheaper as a result. And we picked 34. I think we even thought about going as low as like $25 on these and just being like, you know what, they're imperfect. But then they look pretty good, so we went a little bit higher. Now liquid filled dice typically are like $50 to $100. In fact, I think 50 is on the low side. They're up there in price. So we figured like, well, these, even though they have some issues, the price is going to be just really aggressive, and so we'll have people who want to pick them up. Cool. We also thought though, yeah, but if other people buy these from USUN, they probably won't disclose that. And sure enough, yes, there are sellers now who are selling these exact same dice for like $60. In fact, one on Etsy specifically, they also like really oversaturate their pictures. I looked again and they did mention that some of them might be off center, like pretty far down in the listing, but they're selling them for $60. Yeah, so $60, the exact same dice. Hope they got a 40% off on that, because they wouldn't need it because it's a ripoff. Anywho, yeah. Uh, be careful out there. There's some dice sellers. So those are some of the new dice we have in. If you do want liquid filled dice, they're still really pretty. I don't think the liquid effect's super amazing on these, but even just like sharp edged, nice looking dice, they're there. Yep. So that's some of the new stuff we got in. I think that's pretty much all the new stuff we're gonna have for Christmas. And then I want to talk briefly. We're at 13 minutes. Briefly about Dune. So if you haven't checked out this movie, Dune, it's amazing. It's a really good movie that helps get you into the Dune universe. Now I had some already a little bit of experience in with Dune because I follow people like Matt Colville who talk about Dune a lot, and I just have absorbed some stuff. But the movie really like makes me a fan. I am a fan of Dune now. I'm picking up the books. I'm going to read them. I'm really excited about it. I've started consuming more Dune content, and this movie strikes me like so. When I finished watching it, the big takeaway I had was that wow, all the best ideas from Star Wars were like pulled from Dune. Like was like the conclusion I've come to. And also like Dune is what I wish Star Wars, like the Star Wars movies were. Something that had like more cerebral and just creative heft to them. like made for adults. Like Star Wars, they talk a lot about how it's made for kids, so you can't criticize it too much for not being like not having hardcore themes and stuff. Dune does not have that problem. Dune has like hardcore themes and some really much more adult content. Even though this was PG-13, and I think they dialed some of it down. I bet you the books when I read them are going to be way more hardcore. But like, yeah, if you're looking for adult Star Wars with just frankly more creative ideas, it's Dune. My only complaint might be that the movie doesn't do a good job setting up some very basics in this universe. Um, and so it might be worthwhile grabbing someone who's like very familiar with Dune and bringing them with you to go see the movie and just saying like, hey, if I have questions, like just like let me pause it and answer my questions real quick. Um, that might be helpful because they just glaze over some, or not even glaze over, they just ignore some things, which makes it very approachable because I think there was a real danger of like over expositioning and over explaining things and confusing people because the Dune universe is complex. Um, but gosh, if I really wish they had just explained like a couple things. I'll name them a little better. The first is like spice and its usefulness to this universe. So spice is like the most important like material, I think would be the right word, or it's a drug. So it's like the most important thing in the universe, though, because it enables interstellar space travel, among other things. It does other stuff too, but they didn't really like hit home like, hey, this resource, that's the word I'm looking for, is like the most important in the universe for this intergalactic civilization. They really should have mentioned that, and they kind of didn't. Now they imply things like that throughout the movie, like there would be no reason for this to be such a big deal of a planet without that. But something at the beginning that just said that would have helped probably, because like I could see some people being like, why do they care so much? Like, because it's not explained at all. Um, and I could see it being, they had an intro that was kind of like Lord of the Rings, where they go like, and the 7 rings, 5 were given to the elves, and 3 were like, they had a thing like that. So they could have easily just stuck in a line about how this is the most important resource in the galaxy. And the other thing that would have been useful to know would be, so they had like these guys who have like a stripe on their lip and they can turn their eyes white and like do calculations really fast. Okay, maybe people will figure out that they're basically like computers, but like calling them like human computers would have really helped. And explaining that they're needed because there was a war with the computers, think like Terminator, and the devastating results of this war afterwards, humanity won, but they're like, no more computers. That would explain a lot in this world, because otherwise people are going to be like, why aren't they using lasers and computers? It's the far future. It's like just a line about that there was this big war and it's impacted like whether or not they use computers would have been really helpful. And also on that note, like the thing about lasers causing like nuclear explosions, and that's why they don't use them as much, also useful. So like there are these things that a new watcher of Dune or someone with no experience would get confused by and have like questions about and just think it's like sloppy writing, and it's not. It's there are in-world explanations and they just didn't do any of them. I mean, there's a few things they explain, but like a lot they did not. And gosh, they had that intro. They should just put it in the intro. All right, I'm at 19 minutes now because I'm long-winded, but I think I got everything I wanted to talk about out of the way, so that's cool. Yeah, so don't buy from companies that do 50% off. USPS is having all sorts of issues. My confidence is shaken in them, which sucks because I want to like USPS. But if you see arriving late or you see it's delivered but it's not there and it's from USPS, think about what I said there. Trust me, we see so many packages. We've run into it a lot. I know what I'm talking about here. And then we have those new items. Check out our new arrivals if you want to see them. And Dune. Go watch Dune if you haven't watched Dune already. It's great. Oh, and I should warn anyone that's going to watch it also that it is part one. It is There is a part two coming, which I think they've greenlit. I think Dune did really well, and so they've now officially said like, yes, we will have a part two. So just go into it knowing that like it's not the full thing, and also if you go into it thinking it is Star Wars, where it's like the good guys will eventually prevail, and like there's like Luke Skywalker, he's a good guy. Which one's the Luke Skywalker one? Yeah, this movie Dune isn't about like really good heroes all the time and like the good guys prevailing. It's a little darker, so but it's good. It's good. You should watch it. Please go watch it. All right, bye everyone. Bye. Till next time. Have a good Thanksgiving. Bye.